everyone, it's Sharon here. Today I've got not a card but a little piece of wall art using a new range from Pretty Quick, which is the Silhouette collection. This particular stamp set is called Extended Family Sentiments. There's also within the range a male family and a female family set, so it's worth getting all of them, and you can mix and match and you've kind of got every occasion covered. But rather than make a card, I have done a separate video where I've used this stamp set on a card. I thought it'd be quite nice to do something a little bit different, something that could be framed. So I've just taken a piece of, this is just grey board, and so that I can put some colour onto it, I'm giving it a couple of coats of white gesso. This will just seal it and also make it white, obviously, so that when I put some colour on, the colour stays true rather than the grey affecting it. So I'm just putting this on quite thickly. The other thing with gesso is you can create some quite nice texture. I'm using a silicone brush because it won't have brush marks, but it'll have a bit of sort of stripiness to it. I think it looks a little bit like wood panelling. That's the kind of feel I'm going for anyway. So this is the first coat, and then I'll put this aside to dry and give it another coat. So now the gesso's dry, I can make a start on preparing my background. And if you're familiar with any of my cards, you'll know that the only colour scheme I would go for is a rainbow, because I put rainbows on everything. Now I haven't got a particular plan, I'm just working this out as I go. Anyone organised would kind of measure and work it out, but no, not me, I just wing it as I go. And I found that the Tattered Rose was just a bit too pale, it wasn't really showing, so I switched to Spun Sugar. And now I'm moving on to Picked Raspberry, which is a lovely pink. Now I'm finding on this gesso that when I go back over, rather than blend, it's kind of taking off the other colour. So you'll notice first of all I'm heat setting it, and then when I'm going back over, I'm kind of dabbing it more than the usual blending technique. I just want to get the colour on there, and heat setting it in between will fix it anyway. So I'm moving on to an orange now. And again, I'm being quite careful to heat set it and not sort of rub it off whilst trying to blend the colours. Now I've gone for a slightly paler orange here, but as I've put it on, I've realised that it's not that different from the first colour. So I'm just going to heat set that and abandon that idea and go straight to yellow. Otherwise it looks like it's too much orange, so the yellow works fine. And now the best green I find for going from yellow to green is Twisted Citron, because it's a lovely lime. And then I'm moving on to some blues, and for the last two colours I'm going to use Evergreen Bough and Peacock Feathers. They're both quite a sort of turquoise teal colour, which works perfectly for my rainbow. So that's the background all sorted, and I've followed the stripes. You probably noticed I put the gesso on in this direction, so the sort of the streaky bit of the gesso, which kind of looks a little bit like wood grain, is going in the same direction. And I've noticed that there's a bit of the light pink missing where I tried blending it and realised that wasn't going to work. I kind of rubbed a bit off, so I'll just touch that up. And now I'm picking out one of the stamps from the stamp set which says Family, and I thought this would make a really nice background. And what I'm going to do is a kind of tone on tone look. I'm using the same colours and just over stamping, so it's quite subtle. On some of the colours I'll use a slightly darker shade. I haven't planned this, I'm just kind of winging it as always, seeing how it goes, but I really like this look, and it kind of reinforces the rainbow. And I'm going to go for a stronger orange here. I think this is right persimmon, I think. Yeah. And that gives a really nice colour against the orange. And I'm wiping off my stamp in between. And this is fossilised amber, I think, which is quite a bit darker than the yellow I used. And you'll see I'm not being precise, but I'm following a sort of pattern of two rows per colour, and I'm working my way across. I'm not worrying too much about whether I go off the edge or not, because I think once this is finished it would look good in a frame, so the edges will be covered. So I am going slightly off as I get to the right hand side, but I'm not worrying too much about going over the edge, which if it were a card I would, just to give it a sort of seamless look. Now, because I've got all that gesso and texture and all sorts going on, I'm not going to risk stamping straight onto this. So I've taken the foam out of my Misty, because obviously this is quite thick, and I'm using my grid to line up the sentiment that I want to put in the middle. Because I've got all the sort of rainbow colours in the background, I now want a sort of focal point, and I'm going to stamp this in black. And I've picked, because I've got family in the background, I've picked out one of the sentiments from the stamp set that says "Together is our favourite place to be," and I thought that looks really nice with the family background. So I'm stamping that with Versafine Onyx Black, and I'm double stamping it just to make sure it's nice and crisp and black, and I'm happy with that. And to finish it off, a bit of sparkle, and I thought it would be nice to carry on the same way I've done the stamping with following the colour scheme. I thought I'd do the same with the sequins and follow the colour plan with sequins of the same colour, and I'm just going to do them in a diagonal from the bottom corner upwards, following the colour scheme. I'm using Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish to place these, just because it dries matte so it won't show, and it's also a very strong adhesive. And I'm also using a pickup tool, so you can see I'm just putting a little dot of the Multi-Matte Medium and then using a pickup tool to place the sequin. The sequins I've got here, a lot of them are from Pretty Pink Posh. Most of the coloured ones are, and then I've got various other sequins that I've picked up in different haberdashery shops, but for the most part the coloured ones you can see are from Pretty Pink Posh. So that's all the sequins on, and as you can see it just finishes it off and gives it a bit of sparkle. I'll put details of all the products I've used in the description box below on YouTube, and you can also pop across to the Craft Stash website for details of all the products. That's www.craftstash.co.uk. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.